Welcome. I'm Riley Karsh.
I'm Tova Kopan.
We are thrilled to bring you the We Go Boldly podcast.
Let's talk big burning questions, life changes, and maybe a bit of personal business.
Let's be bold and brave together. Are you ready?
I am. Here comes the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to We Go Boldly, the podcast. It is season 10. Season 10. It's also a new year. Who's excited? I'm excited.
I'm excited. I didn't know if that was like a rhetorical question.
No, it's just a question for the universe, I guess. I am Riley. I'm here with my fantastical, wonderful, slightly tired co-host Tova, who was, of course, hit with an illness over the holidays because that's what happens. But we're very excited to be launching this new season 10 and bringing you guys a whole season that I don't even remember why we originally thought about it, but if you listen to I think I do now, but I'll let you tell the story. But if you listen to the show, you know how much we hate articles with long lists of multi-step processes. We just think that most people won't actually do those things. And therefore, it sets you up for disappointment. But Tova, I'm going to let you say hello and talk about where the origination story for this season.
Okay. Yes. Hello. So you're listening to this in the new year, which is exciting. It's very exciting.
It is.
Which is funny for two people who don't set New Year's resolutions to say, but we do pick new words. I am very far from picking a new word, and I am going to be very gentle with whatever word I pick. In fact, the word I pick might be gentle.
I was going to say that, which is funny because I've already picked my word and my color because I pick a color for the year too. I've got both.
You do.
I don't know what happened, but I've got them, and I'm like,
there you go. Well, I mean, so let's just to let people know, real fast, my word for 2023 was the word accept, because I've been working on forgiveness, both of myself and others, as a personal journey. And one of the big important aspects of forgiveness is accepting things as they are. And apparently the universe is like, you need a lesson in acceptance and just like dealing with things as they are. Here's some breast cancer. And on one hand, I don't actually think the universe works like that. And on the other hand, I very much think the universe works like that.
A little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it's like a punishment or something. No. So I'm like, what word can I pick that will only be pleasant?
Sunshine.
Like, where the lessons are only like gentle lessons.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm like, gentle, love, hope, like really like soft words,
positive vibes, like
calm, but not like coma. I feel like the universe could be like, well, she needs some calm, let's give her a coma.
Here's a month in the hospital. No, but yes, I hear you. I think ultimately that is not how the energy of the universe works, except that, like you were saying, we put out energy that comes back to us. And so that is kind of what happens.
I do think the universe gives you the lessons that you're looking for and the lessons that you need.
Yeah.
And sometimes those are the same lessons, and sometimes they are not.
Well, sometimes you think you know what they are, right? And then you're like, oh, I didn't realize.
Sometimes you're like, I picked this word because like 2 years ago, I want to say I picked the word believe because I had all these hopeful things.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, nope, believe is just because I've repeated, I believe that it's all going to work out like so many times. But yeah, so let's look a little bit about the season. Because you're right, we don't love these lists that are like 98 ways to change your life.
Yeah.
And we are inundated this time of year with like how-to guides and with these lists on like new year, new you. It's one reason that we've spent a lot of time on our year of you group, because we really wanted to figure out like how can we create like there is a I don't want to say a right and a wrong way, but there is a way to be more productive. And I say productive in a with a new definition that I recently stumbled upon on Instagram where it's like purposeful about
Yeah.
setting goals
Yeah. I like
and
that.
purposeful about doing things and intentional about how you live your life. And then there's a way to like not do those things. So, there's this year view that we've created, but I'm digressing. So all that is to say, we stumbled upon, and by stumbled upon, we get a newsletter in our inbox from but I don't read it all the time. It's actually the only newsletter though, if I read any, it is the one I read.
This one, yeah.
But it's from the website Be More with Less, and it's 63 things to declutter and let go of by the end of the year. And initially I'm like, okay, like 63 things. That's crazy. Mind you, this was sent in October. So like they did give you some time. In fact, if I did the math, maybe it was 63 days before the end of the year. I don't know.
Right, right.
So they gave you some time. But what I loved about the list once I actually read the list, because initially I started reading it from a mocking perspective, and then I started really liking it.
Naturally. I mean, it's
Yeah.
63 things. It's
Yeah.
outrageous.
Right. Was that, and some of the things were very like practical, task oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this isn't, I have not looked at it recently. So now, and also even if I had, I'm getting over either the flu or COVID. I don't know which. I didn't test positive for COVID, but I haven't had a flu test. So whatever. I wouldn't remember either way. But like, let's say it's like go through your pens to make sure they're all, like usable pens. Like that
Yeah.
would be one of the things, like a very concrete, do this thing. Don't take pens that don't work into the new year,
Right.
right? That would be a very concrete step. But then at the end of the list, it was like, let go of, guilt because you're not getting what you think is enough done each day. Right.
Yeah.
And so the things that the list were these larger sort of existential kind of ideas.
More of the internal dialogue stuff, right? Like negative self-talk, forgiveness, regrets, relationship mistakes, goals, hopes, or this is one of my favorites. Goals, hopes, or dreams for the future that you've held on to, but you don't really care about anymore. Like how
Mm,
many of us have been like reaching and striving for a goal, and then like we get there and we're like, wait a minute, what? I don't actually
right.
want this anymore, right? Like
Right.
it sounded great 5 years ago when you started and you forgot to change course somewhere along the way. So I I like you, Tova, as I read through the list, I was like, yeah, okay, I do need to declutter my closet and like I should
Yeah.
probably get rid of old emails and dump, furniture that's broken or whatever. And then you get to the end of the list, you're like, oh, right. All these things are the things that really like sit on us, right? Like they hold us back and they weigh on us and you always use that rocks in the backpack
Yeah.
metaphor. Is that a metaphor? Um and which I like because of the visual aspect of it. And I think that all of these things are like rocks in the backpack, right? Holding you down.
Well, and what I like about a list like this is that pens that don't work, right? Like when you're rushing in the morning and you're going to grab a pen, and like how often have you, I mean, maybe people don't do this. Maybe people do just immediately throw out the pen that doesn't work. I often assume that like the pen just doesn't work that day. Like maybe the next day it'll work.
Like if you worked harder at it, the pen would
Yeah,
work.
like maybe it's just having a bad morning. Like maybe so but how often do you grab like a pen and you go to write and it doesn't work and you just put it back in the drawer,
Mm,
right? Like, and then so it's
all the
still
time.
there.
Yeah.
Like it's still there to haunt you. That is to me, like maybe it's not a big rock. It's not like, guilt or shame or like
Right.
hopes and dreams that you haven't achieved, but it's like a little pebble in your backpack.
Yeah, it's like
And
an irritation.
yeah, it's like a pebble in your shoe.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and it slows down your morning, which, if you're trying to get out the door with or without kids or with a dog or whatever, depending on how your morning routine is or if you're a morning person or not, like every moment counts, and like feeling a flow in the moment. And if that throws off your flow, it
Yeah.
matters. Also,
And
pens are really fun to buy.
yeah, they are really fun to buy.
Um,
And I will note if you are, I mean, this might have happened yesterday. If you are sitting and trying to make the parental controls work on all of your kids' devices while you're doing stuff and you know you need to write down passwords and every pen you pick up doesn't work and you're already frustrated, it's more
yes,
than a little pebble. It's like a boulder and you just start screaming
right,
at it.
right. And then to that
Not that I
end,
did that.
not just like a random example,
Yeah,
not an
just
actual what
random.
happened. Yeah.
I would never.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no. I see what you're saying. Um, but also we've talked a lot about doing something new as often as you can, whether it's
Yeah.
every day or every month or whatever. And the new thing can be like listening to a different type of music,
Hmm.
or it can be trying a different recipe or going a different route home, or like really doing something outside of your comfort zone, like whatever it might be, because then when you have something big that's new and scary, you know what those feelings feel like, you know what that discomfort feels like. And it can even be like reading a book that's outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the process of decluttering your pens and removing that pebble and feeling how your backpack is a little lighter, you're like, oh, okay, well, actually getting rid of all those pens wasn't actually a lot of work. Like I was able to just like, I went around the house, I collected all the pens, I put on a movie, I just sat there with a piece of paper, I had a pile to get rid of, a pile to keep, and then I went about with my life. Like that was easy. And now my backpack's a little lighter.
Yeah.
And like, okay, getting rid of the hopes and dreams that I have long since passed, like that's going to be a little harder, but also the backpack will be even lighter. Like the
Yeah.
payoff will be more.
Well, and the
Um,
more you do the quote easy things like the pens
yeah,
or whatever, the more one muscle memory you build up, and two, trust in yourself that you are capable of doing things that you set your mind to, right? Like the more you
yeah,
trust yourself, the better. And so when you do things like, I'm going to get rid of all these broken pens, or I'm going to like, go through my closet and let go of all the stained shirts or, whatever.
well,
That but you learn to trust yourself that you're actually going to do the thing you say you're going to do.
and also trust the world. I was talking to somebody who admittedly like struggles letting go of things.
Mm.
And he was saying how like he had multiple umbrellas, but he always kept this one broken one just in case. And then finally one day he threw it out and like nothing bad happened. Like,
Yeah, but that's such
like,
a legitimate
like,
experience, right? Like
right,
like
right.
I've had that maybe not with umbrellas, but other things where I'm like, oh, it didn't like break the universe or
Also
something.
he didn't need like two extra, like having one
Right.
extra was enough.
Yeah.
Like, and like you didn't need to keep using the broken one. So he had two good extra, right?
Yeah.
Like having one new one that functioned and one extra was plenty in the umbrella world.
Right.
Because as adults, we don't actually need umbrellas that much.
No, not very often.
So, so it's interesting. Like there are things that we're like, well, we just can't do that, and there's jokes. Listen, like there's like all those, you're gonna have your favorite, as an adult, you're like, I can't get rid of that box. That's a good box. Might need that someday. Or like those
Oh,
cords. And then there's that time you're like, oh my God, I got rid of the cords. Like I have some camera, like my 7-year-old wants new cameras. And I'm like, I have some old digital cameras. And I'm like, crap, do I still have the cords that charge them?
right.
Like, oh God, did I get rid of them? Like, have I fallen down that? Like, but whatever. So the point is, we really fell in love with this list.
Yeah, we're
And
coming full
let's
circle
circle
here.
back, circle back. And so it inspired us a little bit for this season, and just inspired us in many ways, but inspired us a little bit about this season. We're going to take a quick break because last week we forgot to take enough breaks. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about a conversation that I had with my physical therapist, and we're actually going to tell you how we came up with the idea for the season.
There we
We'll be
go.
right back.
Tova here. I'll admit, when I think of a coach, I immediately think knee-high socks, whistles, and clipboards. Is it because I love Ted Lasso?
Maybe. I mean, I think it's a good look for you, if I'm being honest.
Thanks, I think. Anyway, that's not the kind of coaching we want to talk to you all about.
True. We are talking about life and transition coaching, though I do still love a clipboard and a tube sock.
Both Riley and I are lucky to have worked with incredible coaches throughout our lives.
Before that, though, we struggled with where to start, believing in what coaching could really do for us, and, of course, putting ourselves first.
Taking the leap and working with our coaches made all the difference. They gave us direction and support when we needed it most.
Now, we are fortunate enough to be coaches ourselves, and we're excited to pay it forward.
We can help you figure out where to start, create a roadmap, keep you accountable, and get to living your limitless life.
Sounds pretty great. So if you want to figure out your next steps, check out our services at goboldlyinitiative.com/services.
We can't wait to talk to you. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back, everybody. So we had this list in our head that we really, really enjoyed. We really liked the way that it was practical and also big and internal and scary and all the things all together, kind of how we like to live our lives. And then I've been getting physical therapy to prep for my next surgery, and the physical therapist was asking about the podcast, and she made a comment about something about how, and I don't remember exactly, but like we should have more like how-tos. Like we have all these amazing women on, right? And we do. We have these incredible women on, and a man so far, potentially more than one at some point. I mean, it went well with him. We would be willing to have another one on. And you know, we do have these amazing women on, and we ask them all of these questions about whatever our topic is for the
For the season.
The season, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't necessarily ask them about what they're an expert in. Sometimes we do, but it's more like how did you get there?
Right.
What drew you to that? Not like teach us the things that you know. Like give our audience 3 things that would help them, like give them a how-to guide. Give them the first 3 steps to navigating whatever, you know. And so we thought, well, that might be fun. I mean, essentially, our whole podcast is how to live a bold, limitless life. But what if we really, really honed in, and each week we did a very specific, focused mini how-to guide on something that we cared about, right? And either our guests would talk about it, and we're still going to dig deep into what our guests are like, you know.
Yeah, we can't help ourselves.
No. But we would love to also have them share, you know, a few how-tos as they of the things that they have become experts on.
Yeah. So we're going to spend quite a long time, I suspect, going through a variety of how-tos. And the reason the 60,000 things to declutter list, whatever it is, became so relevant to this is that some of the things from that list wound up in our how-tos, right? Because like, I don't know how to declutter certain things. I don't know about you guys, but like I would love some expert advice on that. So we're starting out with all kinds of like internal stuff that, you know, Tova and I are experts on and can speak to. And so we will bring you those episodes soon. And we'll talk a lot about like mental health and letting go and changing your habits and goal setting and that kind of stuff, which we, you know, have lots of expertise in. But like, we also want to talk to you guys about how to have a skincare routine. You know what I mean? Like we want to talk about, which is self-care. It is self-care, and it's your physical health as well. Like I don't really care what anyone else says about that. But like from that to how to make friends, like as a grown-up, it's hard. It can be really hard unless you're like a super extrovert, which even then, I think it can be hard because maybe
Yeah.
you like people are cliquey or people have their friend groups, or I don't know. There's all kinds of reasons it could be hard. So we're going to talk about all this stuff throughout the season, and we would love to be able to bring you guys like expert advice, expert opinions, and ideas throughout the season. But also, we want to hear from you. Like, if there are topics you're like, can you please, for the love of God, bring me a how to on I can't think of anything right now. I'm blanking, but something that we haven't said that we're doing. We would love to hear from you. We would love to understand like what it is that you guys are interested in learning about. Because we have access to all kinds of experts and we would love to bring them on the show.
Yeah. And I mean, we really made a list, 6 months really, of a list of things
Yeah.
that we wanted to talk about, right?
Yes.
Like, so like some sneak peeks would be how to find a therapist, right? Um, how to start a business, how to negotiate. You know, maybe you're going to a car dealership. Maybe you avoid going to a car dealership.
Yeah.
Maybe you're on Facebook Marketplace and you feel like you need to negotiate. How to think about money, right? So like not necessarily like this is where you need to invest your dollars, but like how do
Right.
you actually start having a good relationship with money?
Yeah.
Um,
And
and then
maybe we will do an investment one. I don't know. We'll
I don't know.
like
We'll see where it
there's
takes
so
us.
many opportunities here.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, like all of this is all about taking care of yourself, right? And I think that is what is really important about that list. We keep coming back to this list, that taking care of what I think are theoretically the little things in our lives are the big things, right? So taking care of whether it's the skincare routine, and just knowing that you have a plan. I mean, it is a little daunting knowing that like 10-year-olds are asking for mini fridges for their rooms so that they can put their like skincare products in there. And I'm like, what? What? What's happening?
Yes.
Like, if I remember to wash my face, I'm really happy.
Well, yes, although that has a lot more to do with just exhaustion and mental load than it does to whether or not you want to clean your face.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I still also would love someone to say, this is what you actually really need to be doing,
Oh, absolutely.
and
There's
like
like
break
seven,
through the capitalism of it all.
yeah, there's so many options that it's like, I don't know if you're anything like me and you go to the store and you look at the wall of options, you're like, and you
Yeah,
just walk
no, and
away.
this is why, I mean, this is why we're bringing someone on. This is
Yeah.
why I went to a party with my networking group, and one of the women who actually does do, I was going to say face stuff. She's a makeup artist, esthetician, makeup artist. I think
Right.
that's better than face stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was very sparkly. And I was just,
Mm.
so when I saw her next, I was like, how are you so sparkly? Like what happened? What were you doing? And she's like, oh, I use blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, no, no. I was like, please just send me a link. I was like, I have to go to Ulta anyway to get a gift card. So if you
Right.
could send me a link to Ulta specifically, that would be great.
Yeah.
And then I walked into Ulta and then I looked around and I must have looked foolish enough that someone came up to me and they were like, do you need help? I was like, yes, very much
Why,
so. Sure.
yes,
Thank
I
you.
do.
Yes. Yes, I do. And so, having someone say like, this is what, like, yes, if you want a 15-step skincare routine, go for it. But if you have time for 3 steps, these are the steps you should be doing. Or these are like the 2 steps, or these are the 2 ingredients that you should look for.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember. Oh, I had a facial recently and the woman had done a research project during her facial school. I have no words for anything useful. That's not what it's called. Cosmetology school? No,
No, they're estheticians.
estheticians.
So I don't know what
So
the name of the school is.
I
Well,
don't,
that's why we're having an expert on, by the way.
that's why we're having an expert on. Clearly, this is not the one that we're an expert on.
Oh God, no.
But they are, because they
Yeah,
go to school for it.
right.
So she went to school and she had to do a project. And so what she did was she tested all of those like strips, those nose strips that are so fun to
Sure.
like take your
Yeah.
dirty blackheads out. And anyway, she figured out like most of them don't work. And she also figured out like what was the combo that would work and wouldn't work. Like, and what needed to be done. And I was like, that's totally fascinating. Right. And she was doing it from a, once again, not a capitalist perspective, but just like I have to do a research project
Right.
for school. So this is where we're going to have people here, people who have either are experts because they've gone to school for it or have sort of in their own lives developed this um, expertise. I think
Yeah.
we all know people in our lives that we look to for advice, and maybe they didn't go to school for something, but you just know that they have done the research, they've spent the time, and they have the right approach to something, and you want them to share their knowledge with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'm really excited about the people I think that we're going to have on. And I'm even more excited to be learning. Like
Yeah.
part of the reason we want to do this whole season, not just to bring you guys, value and all of us learn something, is that it's important for my personal growth that I'm constantly talking to people who know things I don't know, right? Like who have expertise that I don't have, who have ideas that I don't have. And this is one of the ways, if we look back on, I don't know what season it was, but if we look back to our conversation around adaptability, this is one of the ways we
Mhm.
become more adaptable is that we open our minds and ears and hearts, spirit, souls, all the things to other people's ideas about the world. Now, that is not to say that we take on like people's bad ideas about the world. We don't do that. But we do open ourselves up to, new ways of doing things or new ways
Yeah.
of thinking about things. Like how many of you out there now like ask yourself if something sparks joy before you put it back in your closet. Like it
Right.
became sort of ubiquitous that was the question to ask yourself. Now, I don't know if I agree with it, but it's a helpful tool for a lot of people. So, because like not like very rarely am I going to look in my closet and be like, this sparks joy. Um, and I have to wear clothes. So, or so I'm told anyway by my kids. Um,
And also sometimes it's cold outside.
yeah, indeed. All seriousness though, this season is, I think, gearing up to be our most exciting season in the
Yeah.
sense that I feel like instead of being so reflective, this is a more forward-looking season. And so we're not spending as much time talking about your inner voice and talking about learning to listen to yourself and, kind of de-indoctrinating yourself and things like that. But I'm bringing that up because I want to remind you to do it. It's
Well,
really important.
and don't worry, because when we have conversations with people, we are going to be talking, how did you
Yes.
get there?
Yeah,
Right. And
for sure.
very few people, like, if somebody is truly passionate about something, whether it is event planning or money management or skincare, they didn't get there. It's not a straight line, right?
Mm,
Like, and their path isn't a straight line. And part of what makes them so good at what they do or what they're passionate about is because it's not a straight line. So we
yeah.
will definitely be talking about inner voice. And we will be talking about it when we're talking about things like setting boundaries and how to set boundaries and how to make decisions. And some of it will be repetitive for previous seasons, but we're going to try to do it in more of a how-to guide perspective, kind of like you can leave with, okay, here are your tips.
Right.
Um, the other thing is, it is also going to give us some space to talk a little, I hope, about some of the more woo and spiritual things that we don't always talk about, right?
Yes.
Like, and we haven't figured out necessarily everything that we're going to talk about, but maybe it is, how to do an oracle reading, which I do not know how to do. But how to have a full moon ceremony or something like that. Like there could be a variety of different how to ideas where you're like, I always thought that would be a cool idea, but I never knew what to do.
Right. This I keep saying this is the part I'm most excited about, but this is actually the part I'm most excited about because if you listen to the show, I'm a little wooey and I love my ceremonies and rituals and meditations and card pulls and psychics, and I love all that stuff. I think it's fantastic. Whether you believe in it or not, I think it's a helpful um there can be some really helpful tools, like tapping, which really works for
Mhm.
Tova and not me, just as a side note. But it's a great tool. And if you learn about it and try it, it might just work for you. So we want to bring you some of those things that you wouldn't otherwise have access to, I think, or some of us might feel uncomfortable asking about or asking for, or I don't know,
Yeah.
if you were like me 5 years ago, you didn't want anyone to know what you thought about spirituality because you thought people would judge you. Um, and maybe they do, but now I don't care. So, I want to bring you into that world with us so that you can ask the questions that you want to ask, and you can find out about stuff that, maybe you wouldn't otherwise have the courage to ask about. So I think those are really exciting to me that we
Yeah.
get to bring that to you guys. We do need to take one more break. So let's do that. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what your homework is going to be between now and the first official episode of the season, and a little bit about some of the opportunities we have coming up to work with us, which I'm also very excited about. Apparently, I'm very excited. But we will be right back after this break. In case you didn't already know, we love talking.
True story. More than simply talking, we love researching, prepping, and bringing this podcast to life.
We launched We Go Boldly with the goal of reaching people dealing with the kinds of questions and concerns that we also face.
Things like how to hear my inner voice, how to make sure my habits are worth it and stick, how do I feel my feelings and still manage to function.
After years of personal work and lots of trial and error, we realized we have a lot to share on these topics.
Now we've been broadcasting for over a year and we are proud of our podcast.
And to no one's surprise, we still have a lot to say and talk about.
We sure do. We need your help to keep going. Every episode takes time and money to create, and we would love your support.
So, if you like what we are doing, please support us by joining our Patreon community and becoming a monthly subscriber.
Join our Patreon community today at patreon.com/wegoboldly. We are so grateful to all of our supporters. Now, back to the show.
Okay, welcome back to the show. So, as I was saying, I am very excited. We have a lot of continuing and new opportunities to work with us coming up this year. Tova and I really poured ourselves into a couple of group, I would call them group coaching situations. I don't know what else to
Situations.
well, and now I'm thinking about situationships. It's kind of like that, but better. So, as you guys know, we have our weekly women's circle. And this year we are sort of expanding what it does and how it works. I don't know why I said that like it's a question. I sound like my tween. Um, and so our goal with that for you all is to make sure that every week you get value out of the experience, you build your community, you build your network, and you have the opportunity to learn. And I think, again, like I said before, learning, like being curious about the world and constantly learning new things and new coping skills or new experiences that other people have is one of the ways we stay youthful in our minds, right? Like in our capacity to grow and change and be I hate saying it this way, be the best version of ourselves, but be the version of ourselves that we're most excited about.
Yeah.
And I think, some of the things we're doing in the circle are going to really lend themselves to that process. One thing, and I'm dropping this on Tova, one thing that I'm excited about is I think we're going to add like a book club component to the circle. And don't worry, it's not going to be like you have to read a book in 3 days. It's going to be more like you read it in 2 months and then we talk about it. But Tova and I read a lot of personal development books,
We do.
and some of them, I mean, Tova even more than I, and she actually remembers them, which I do not. But some of them have such great, like actual tools, right? Like
Yeah.
not just like, let's talk about how we feel and think about things on this really esoteric, high level, which I of course love to do, but they have active tools and activities and I can't think of the right word, Tova, but like things you're supposed to do along the way. There's like benchmarks through the books. So we want to invite you guys to join the circle and sign up before too long because the prices are going up, but sign up soon
Yeah.
and participate in this great opportunity. I think it's we created it because it's the thing we wish we had for a long
Yeah.
period of time, right? So that's the circle. The other thing, I don't know, Tova, if you want to talk about it, but we have our year review and the U crew, which I feel so corny saying, but love anyway. But we have our year review, which is it's a goal setting system. I'm going to put it that way. That's very like logical sounding, and it's more than that, but it's a goal setting system. And the way that it works is you sign up for a year and we walk you through every single day how to figure out what your goals ought to be for you,
Yeah.
not for us, for you, and how to set benchmarks for yourself and how to change course. Like we were just talking about before, like, oh, this goal is not really actually what I wanted to do. How to recognize that and make that decision to change course and be okay with that. And then how to actually meet your goals, right? Like,
Yeah.
so we did, and Tova, I think you should speak to this because you talked to me about it the other day and it was great. But we did some like quasi market research on resolutions and goal setting. And I was like, people don't think of it the same way that I think of it. And I realized, of course, so we've had this conversation before, I realized that it's because you and I spend all our time thinking about these things and talking about them. And like, not everyone else does. Shocker. And so the way in which we were thinking about goal setting and resolutions and New Year's and all that stuff, it's a little different than, I would say, different than the responses we got from some people.
Yeah, it was interesting because some people really bristle at the concept of a resolution.
Yeah.
And yet they still like, I think you use the word resolutions and goals interchangeably.
Uh-huh.
Um,
in my personal life. Yeah.
in your personal life. But I think a lot of us have like a hang up on the resolution. I think because we see it as being attached to the new year.
Yeah.
And so despite the fact that you can like resolve to do anything at any point of the year.
Yeah.
Like I think that because of that, you know, people really bristle at resolutions, or they see themselves as like, well, no, I don't set resolutions. I just set goals. And to you, it was very much like, well, it's the same thing.
Right.
It doesn't
Like
make
I
any
got very
sense.
confused. Like I just didn't
Yeah.
and I'm still not sure I understand the difference. I'm just, to be
Well,
frank, I'm trying to understand because I think it will help me help other people.
and I don't know that there is an actual difference.
I think it's an emotional difference,
It's
right?
an emotional difference, right? One is attached to the new year and one is not. It's like last year I joined my networking group, and even though it was an incredibly busy time, I went on their last meeting before the end of the year because I didn't want it to be attached to like the new year.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to be going at the new year and
Right.
like having it be a new thing that I started the new year. So I made sure I went the week before Christmas last year, which is like busy and crazy and
Yeah.
ridiculous.
But
And
I
yeah,
think it
that's what
makes
I
a
did.
lot of sense. I mean, so one of my close friends has convinced me to join the gym with her, so that we can go after the kids go to school. And I was like, all right, well, I'll get to it. But then as you're saying, I'm going to join this week as we're recording the week between Christmas
Yeah,
and New Year's. I want to join this week and go this week. So it's not like I'm New Year's resolutioning, right? Like I'm not
right.
like the 1,200 other people that will be there doing the
Well,
same
and the
thing
key
as
is to
me.
last until about the third week in February, because that's
Right.
when it's all
Everybody
over.
will be gone. Yeah.
Everybody's gone.
Well, I suspect
Um,
it should be pretty empty because we're going at like mom times.
there you go. There you go. Yeah, so I think that there's just, and I think that people have traditionally like they may attach actual, I don't want to say skills, approaches to goal setting
Hmm.
that they don't have, they don't attach to resolutions.
Yeah, like a
It's
whole
like,
structure around it, I
yeah.
think.
So it's like, well, when I set a goal, this is what I do. I do X, Y, and Z. That's how goals work.
Right.
But when I set up, make a resolution, like every year, I'm going to floss more. I don't do anything to floss more. I don't put floss in my car. I don't put floss by the, like, if I put floss by the sink and floss by my car and floss like by my sink in the bathroom where I can easily see it and floss next to my bed, I would floss more. Like it would be easily accessible. It would
Right.
be everywhere. And I would probably floss more. I don't do anything like that. I'm just like, no, I'm gonna floss more. It's gonna be something I'm gonna do. That's
Well, that,
all.
yeah. So I think that's really the difference, right? It's like it's an
Yeah.
like like it's an emotional difference. Like
Yeah.
and then a structural difference. But ultimately it's the same thing, right? Like you're setting a
It
resolution because you want
is.
to reach a goal. Like you want to
Yes.
reach a specific place or thing or
Yes.
achievement, which is the same thing as a goal. It's just,
What?
yeah,
Yes.
it's just very, as you were saying, like there's so much attached to the idea of New Year's resolutions and everyone fails at them and all blah, 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 all that stuff. Um,
Yep.
but so all of that being said, like our year of you is designed to sort of negate that aspect, right? Like we just take that out of the equation because one, it doesn't have to be the new year when you start. Two,
Right.
we have a system in place. Like there's a system that is designed to help you work through the process. And one of the biggest factors I think is accountability, like having somebody checking in on you, having a group that you are accountable to, having daily reminders like that this is what you want and this is what you have to do to get to what you want, um, is is really the key to success. Like any goal that you set, like we all, when we set a real goal and actually attempt to achieve it, we set metrics along the way. We set, like you were saying, Toa, you give yourself steps. You like
Yeah.
put the floss everywhere and so put a reminder in your phone or like tell
Yep.
Alexa to tell you or whatever it is. Um,
Exactly.
so that's what this group is designed to be. Like we're the, Alexa reminder for you every single day.
Yes. 100%. And to figure out like, does that work for you? Do
Yeah.
you need something different? Do you like what is your style when it comes to goal setting? Like what do you need
And what
to
motivates
support you?
you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, so, you know, we're really excited about both of those things
Yeah. Yes.
as I
Um,
stumble over my words.
No, and we would love to have you guys join us in both either. You can find out more about it on our website at goboldlyinitiative.com or on
Hmm.
our link tree in our Instagram bio. You can also email us and be like, hey, what's this about? You said something about it, and we will answer you.
Yeah.
Um, it's a great opportunity for starting the new year off with a plan, I guess, with a plan in place, which
Yeah.
I think is wonderful. So that's what we would love for you guys to do for homework. I know, Tova, you had a little bit more maybe for people to do. Um,
I may have. I don't think I did.
okay.
I don't think I did. It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. It's all right. So that, I guess that wraps us up then for today. So don't forget, sign up for the circle, sign up for the year review. If you want to talk to us, you can schedule a 15-minute conversation with us and find out sort of more about what we do and what aspect of what we do would be right for you right now and what it is that you're trying to do. And with the understanding that those things change over time. But we would love to talk to you.
And if you have any ideas, I mean, we have a long list of ideas of things that we want to learn how to do. But if you have a idea of something that you want to learn how to do in order for you to live a bold, limitless life, let us know so we can track down an expert or somebody to help us, and we'll do that.
Absolutely. So that's it for this week. We will be back next week with our very first how-to. And I forget what it is, to be honest, but we will be here.
We'll be ready.
And we can't wait to launch this season with you guys. And we, before I sign us off, I just want to also say we are very grateful for our longtime listeners. We're grateful for our new listeners. We love doing this. We love being podcasters. We would love your support going forward. If you could please subscribe to the show, rate and review us, that would be a huge help. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. All of the links are on our website and on our social media. So check it out. And don't forget to hit that button for us. We would very much appreciate it. Until next week, everyone, have a fantastic start to the new year.
Thanks so much for listening to We Go Boldly podcast. We know you're busy and we love spending time with you.
If you enjoyed this week's episode, let us know. Head to Apple Podcasts right now to rate and review our show. While you're there, be sure to click that subscribe button.
Want more us time? Follow us on all the socials at Go Boldly Together.
Want even more us time? As in all the coaching pizzazz. Find us at goboldlyinitiative.com for all the info.
We will be back with more excitement, research, and deep thoughts next week.
Until then, keep on being the bold, brave, amazing people we know you already are.